Andorra. Andorra, small, independent European principality situated among the southern peaks of the Pyrenees mountains and bounded by France to the north and east and by Spain to the south and west. It is one of the smallest states in Europe. The capital is Andorra la Vella. Andorra consists of a cluster of mountain valleys whose streams unite to form the Valira River. Two of these streams, the Madriu and the Perafita, flow into the Madriu-Perafita Clara Valley, which occupies about 1/10 of Andorra's land area and is characterized by glacial landscapes, steep valleys, and open pastures. Andorra has traditionally had a strong affinity with the region of Catalonia in northern Spain. Andorra's official language is Catalan. Its institutions are based in Catalonian law, and a large proportion of the Spanish immigrants in Andorra are Catalan. Most Andorrans are Roman Catholic. Andorra is part of the Diocese of Urgell. Almost 9/10 of the population is classified as urban, and half of residents are foreign nationals, mainly from Spain, France, and Portugal. Culture name: Andorran. Alternative names: Principality of Andorra, Andorranos. Orientation: symbolism. The sanctuary of the Virgin of Meritxell, patron of the nation, constitutes the most important religious symbol for Andorrans and is also an attractive spot for tourist visits in the summer. Its 30 Romanesque churches and other treasures of medieval art serve as historical reference, as well as emblems of identity. Ethnic relations: the origins of Andorra can be situated between the Mesolithic and the Neolithic periods. The archaeological site of Bomba Margineta dates back 8,000 years, although full territorial occupation was not achieved until 2000 BCE. During the Roman era, Andorra had a stable population. Until the epoch of Arab occupation in the 8th century, Iberian populations mixed with peoples arriving from Central Europe. At the beginning of the 9th century, the area was repopulated. The first document that refers to Andorra is the Act of Consecration of the Cathedral of Urgell. In the 8th and 9th centuries, Andorra belonged to the County of Barcelona, which ceded sovereignty over the valleys of Andorra in 988 to the Episcopal See of Urgell. Ethnic relations: as a culture shaped by transhumant shepherds in the past and international merchants in the present, Andorrans are open in character and interethnic relations are not conflictive. Moreover, almost all immigrants come from European nations, hence cultural differences are not strident. Urbanism. Architecture: urbanism in the nation reflects both its rural past and its commercial and urban present. While some municipalities, such as Canillo and Ordino, demonstrate an urbanism typical of any village of the Pyrenean or Alpine high mountains, the urban center formed by Andorra la Vella and Escaldes in Gordony has the face and structure of any typical Western urban commercial center. Other settlements, such as Sant Julià de Lòria and Encamp, show a hybrid rural-urban style. An urban rule also fixes the invented tradition of the mountain style. This demands that 30% of any facade be constructed of stone masonry. Hence, large commercial buildings and the majority of urban public buildings show an amalgam of invented tradition and modernity, combining stone with iron and large surfaces of glass. Nevertheless, the building of the national government is of modern design, constructed in concrete and glass. Food and economy. Food in daily life. The diet in Andorra is based on consumption of meat, garden vegetables, and some fish. The most common winter dish in rural and urban zones is escudella, a soup of veal, chicken, potatoes, and vegetables. Some immigrant communities have different customs. Portuguese eat more cod and Indians more vegetarian food. Normally, the midday meal is eaten near the workplace in a restaurant. Food customs at ceremonial occasions. Many Catholic families still avoid eating meat on Fridays. At the Feast of the Virgin of Meritxell, Andorran families often eat outdoors. After the solemn midday mass, they consume cold cuts, chicken, and rabbit. The Christmas cycle is also an occasion for the organization of family meals. Basic economy. Until about the middle of the 20th century, the Andorran economy was based on transhumant shepherding and the breeding of cattle and horses. Andorrans also grew some tobacco, while agriculture was oriented to the production of cereals, potatoes, and garden vegetables. Because of the climate, the rocky relief, and the small size of its territory, the country always ran a deficit in agricultural production. Today, due to the commercial orientation of its economy, agriculture has disappeared. Only tobacco survives, with its production tripling since the early 1970s. Coupled with enormous quantities of imported tobacco, this production feeds a strong tobacco industry, serving visitors to the country. Social welfare. Since there is no direct taxation in Andorra, the state has limited resources to maintain the level of opulence that characterizes the country. This means its capacity to implement welfare programs is limited. The principal demands of foreign workers, the most fragile and needy social sector, focus on housing and child care in order to secure the position of female workers. Recently, the government attempted a low-interest credit system through Andorran banks to encourage home ownership, but the results were below expectations. The number of child care centers has grown, but still fails to meet demand. Marriage, family, and kinship. Marriage is not controlled by any limits except class. Marriages between Andorrans and Spaniards or French are normal. Kin groups. Networks of kinship are only activated through rituals of sociability for reasons of alliance or political patronage. Socialization, child rearing, and education. Andorran children, as in many other European nations, are placed in child care settings before 3 years of age, and much of the care and instruction of these children thereafter is done by scholastic institutions. Insufficient relationships between parents and children are noticeable at times. The extended work hours of parents, who often do not return home until 8:30 p.m., aggravate this tendency. Cases of youth maladjustment, quite frequent in Andorra and affecting all social sectors, are explained by psychologists as stemming from this relationship deficit. Higher education. Roughly 11% of the population between 18 and 24 attends university, especially in Spain and France. Religion. Religious beliefs. Even though Andorra lacks a formal religion, Roman Catholicism is hegemonic. One fundamental element of this presence rests on the role of the Bishop of Urgell as co-prince and at the same time head of the Andorran Church. Apart from the Jehovah's Witnesses, there are no public religious alternatives in Andorra. Rituals and holy places. All public ceremonies, including some sessions of the Parliament, are accompanied by a Catholic Mass. The Andorran festive calendar adapts to the Catholic liturgical calendar, and the nation, like every paroquia, has a patron saint and a collection of religious and lay celebrations. Medicine and healthcare. The Andorran medical system is guaranteed through a general hospital situated in the capital, as well as various clinics and private medical centers. Every population center has a family medical service. Alongside official medicine, traditional curing practices based on herbal knowledge also survive. There are no shamanistic practices of curing in Andorra. Secular celebrations. In addition to the national festival of the Virgin of Meritxell, 8 September, each paroquia has its own patronal festival. Given the commercial orientation of the nation, the only formal holidays are Christmas and New Year's Day.